All right, boys, it's a Celine Song summer. Time for y'all to feel the romance. What's going on? That's a bad Sam Elliott impression. We're going to talk The Materialists, the brand new Celine Song movie. Pedro Pascal, Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans. Is Madam Web and Captain America getting together? Let's talk about it.
Nothing over 20 BMI.
I don't want someone who likes cats.
I'm trying to settle.
I promise you're going to marry the love of your life.
So Dakota Johnson plays a young and ambitious matchmaker, yet she finds herself torn between the perfect match and her imperfect ex. This is rated R. There's some language, a little bit of sexual material, but honestly, this is one of the lesser R-rated movies of this subgenre that I've seen in quite some time. It's really just a lot of language, but I found the story to be really interesting. I was expecting kind of a love triangle situation. Got Pascal and Evans, two extremely talented, extremely prominent lead men in Hollywood. Dakota Johnson, I find her to be really underrated. Look, I wasn't a fan of Madam Web, but she's been in more. Some of these lower budgeted independent movies, even a movie like Peanut Butter Falcon, Dakota Johnson she was a highlight. And Celine Song, off of Past Lives, one of the better films of that year. I was so excited to see what she was going to do with this cast, but more importantly, I'm like, all right, how's this going to work? Is it going to lean into being a rom-com or more of a drama/romance with a modern take on how a modern-day romance works? Funny enough, it actually starts out, the first scene, it's not modern day. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. So my expectations are like, oh, well, this is immediately not what I was expecting. But when it comes to this type of subgenre, an A24 movie, a director like Celine Song, you have to expect the unexpected, and you have to look at how more modern romantic dramedies, I would not consider this a rom-com in the least bit, approaches the modern day relationship, approaches the idea of finding the love of your life. This matchmaker who has everything figured out in the beginning regarding her work life, but when it comes to actually being in a relationship, what that means, how your past can come back to haunt you or make you a little happier, right? That is a beautiful perspective on romance. That's something that this movie tries to tackle. Does it fully deliver? I'm not sure. I will give it this. It attempts to be extremely sharp and takes a mature approach when it comes to relationships, what that means to various people across the board, the idea of finding the perfect person. And while it's not a rom-com per se, the sequences where Dakota Johnson is meeting with all of these potential, not matchmakers, matches for other matches, and they are describing the perfect person, one that has to fit all of these subcategories, but ultimately be the one that they have been looking for their entire lives. And yeah, she starts out at the beginning of the film, she's matched 9 couples who have went on to get married. I'd like to see the divorce track record, though. I think she does a great job, but I still want to see it. While I was never a matchmaker, when I started filming weddings, 3 out of the first 4 couples I filmed their wedding for, they got a divorce. So I'm like, am I the bad luck charm? Is the video that bad? I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, shit, I'm sorry.
Start with what I love. What I love about this, it's talking about how the modern relationship is sometimes, if not more often than not, a transactional relationship. It's not about the intangibles. It's more about how social status, expectations, wealth, all of those elements can dictate whether or not you love someone, and how actually loving someone feels almost like an entirely separate thing. Am I in this relationship because I truly feel like I need to be here? Or is it more just, I like the idea of this person and the idea of this relationship? And you see that when Johnson's character first becomes infatuated with Pedro Pascal. Yeah, she's kind of hugging on him and kissing on him, but at the same time, she's looking around going, hey, this is nice. This is real nice. But the movie doesn't approach it as, oh, she's some kind of gold digger. No, it is genuinely a look at the modern relationship and how that has become kind of the norm for a lot of people. It's frustrating, man. Not that I'm some kind of matchmaking expert, but I see a lot of, even some friends of mine, hope they're not watching this review, have been in specific relationships because it's more of, I like the idea of this rather than actually loving the person. And that's interesting, but at the same time, you kind of feel a little bit of chemistry between Pascal and Johnson's characters. A great scene or longer sequence where they're just sitting having a great conversation. I love that this movie, it feels like it's able to sit back, strip down all of these elements that don't really make a relationship and allow you to hear some dialogue between two characters, a great conversation that I love between them, but at the same time, you see how that is progressing. And I won't dive into the specifics of this love triangle, but obviously, you got Chris Evans lurking in the background. Now, he doesn't have everything together. What this trailer pitches is a love triangle that does kind of lean into the rom-com genre. That's not what the movie is. The love triangle becomes a lot less of that and starts to look more at romance in general, starts to have more of a broad perspective, and that charm that you're getting from that initial trailer, it's present in this film, but that's not really the focus of the movie. And I feel like a lot of people looking for that more classic rom-com, they're going to be frustrated because this has a lot more drama involved. And then one of the couples that Lucy is matchmaking for, something happens there that really puts this film in an entirely different category, but also gives you a different perspective on the idea of matchmaking in general, not only the expectations, but also, am I doing what is right? Am I just pairing them up based on the things that ultimately don't matter as much, even though that's what everyone's looking for? I'm looking for the perfect woman because of this, this, and this. My perfect woman's upstairs. Don't tell her I said that. Please don't tell her. I want to keep her on her toes. So Chris Evans is an extremely charming guy when he buckles up and finds the right role. I feel like we said this last year, Ryan and I talking on Movie Mode. He needs to find a new manager. What is he doing? Well, this is one of those projects that I think exemplifies what is so charming about him. And even though he's where he is in his life, you're still kind of rooting for him along the way. I think the chemistry is good. My issue, or one of my issues with this movie, is that it doesn't explore their past, their relationship quite as much. I felt as if the script didn't give us an opportunity to build up the chemistry quite to that point. Whereas she's spending a lot more time with Pedro Pascal's character on screen, but they obviously don't have that past history, so the film isn't going to focus on that as much, make that more prominent. And so there were issues I had with the script. It didn't quite veer in the direction I needed it to. I also appreciate the filmmaking in general with Celine Song. You know it's going to look good. The camera movements, the editing, just the crisp look of it all. Another thing about this script is it tries to keep going back to earlier in the movie and be like, remember that? Remember that? And I felt as if it thought it was smarter than it actually was. There was a little missing from that story progression, and maybe even one of the two main relationships, that dynamic, that I felt if we would have gotten that, if that could have been the focal point midway through the movie instead of what we ultimately got, this movie would have been fantastic, and I think it just falls short. Before I give you my score, are you watching Materialists this week? And if you enjoyed this review and you want to share it, drop a like, leave a comment. Tell me how dumb I am. I appreciate it. And Materialists delivers a strong trio of performances as Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal shine in this fresh take on modern love, exposing how money and status can shape our hearts. Celine Song's direction is gorgeous, with sharp moments that reveal the hidden truths of how modern romance is approached. The ending ultimately stumbles, and the script doesn't fully embrace its ideas, but the cast-director duo is enough to deliver a solid film that didn't quite live up to my lofty expectations. Anytime you're coming off of past lives, it's almost unfair, but at the same time, there's enough here for people to appreciate, just maybe not love on that level that I was hoping I would love it personally. Thanks so much for watching. What movie are you watching in theaters? Life of Chuck, Materialists, all those reviews are on this channel.